Welcome back to the Pod of Greed.
Welcome back indeed to the one,
the only
podcast on the internet.
Our internet.
Celebrating episode 100.
That's right, guys. It's been 100 years of Pod of Greed.
Yeah. Woo! Now, we've been doing this for 100 weeks straight, and I gotta say, I'm proud of us. I truly am.
Me too. I've never done any one thing for 100 weeks straight before. Literally nothing. Okay, breathe, but that's all.
Probably it, right?
There have been days I haven't slept, so I can't even say sleeping.
Yeah, but probably not weeks you haven't slept.
But if you break even one day in the week of not sleeping, I mean.
Seriously though, thank you guys so much for listening for as long as you have. All of your support really does mean a lot. It's why we continue to do this. We started this podcast kind of like on a whim, I feel like.
Because we yap a lot. And we're like, hey, let's turn the camera on and keep yapping.
Yeah, so like we just kind of, here we are. And we've made small improvements and revisions. And there's still improvements and revisions to be made. But I still think that we've done a pretty good job. So,
and because this is our 100th episode, we want to give a gift to all of you. Paul is going to send you all $100.
Woo! Monopoly money.
Usher bucks.
Something. Yes. Some crypto coin. Yeah, but thank you guys seriously for that. We appreciate it. We also would love it if you would drop a like on the video. Maybe even put a 1 in the chat.
Premier Gang rise up. Actually, put 100 in the chat.
That's true. No ones in chat. Hundreds. 100 emojis like the youngsters do.
Yeah, for real.
Anywho, we've got a review. The review for us comes from Describe. He says, greedy for more.
Oh, okay.
I rediscovered Yu-Gi-Oh! After watching Duel Monsters last summer, which led to me finding you guys on YouTube. It took 6 months to catch up, but it's been an entertaining and informative listen every step of the way. Honestly, he's been listening to the pod for
that's impressive.
A minute now.
To like catch up on the pod, that's impressive.
Between the pod and conducting my own research, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! No longer sounds like you or Alec are speaking Finnish, so I consider that a win. Yeah, he's
that's great because we don't know Finnish.
And I also love hearing you guys speak on non-Yu-Gi-Oh! Topics too. Dare I say, even more so. Thanks for making Thursdays fun, and here's to another 100 episodes. Awesome.
Man, we should have had some champagne.
Yeah, we really should have. Do you remember what was that little fake champagne that Dragon Shield sent it, I think? Do you remember that?
I forgot about that.
You and Charles took a picture with this little
they sent us this
drink.
Sparkling cider.
Yeah, we should have
gotten a New Year's thing?
I think it was like a New Year's thing. You know what would have been cool? We get some green little cider drink thing, and we could celebrate with that.
But it's too late.
It'll be too late.
This is the 100th episode.
Well, but if you think about it, technically, every episode has got a 100 number. It might as well be a celebration.
So that means you got to celebrate every single episode?
Yeah. So whatever you guys were going to...
We popping bottles.
Yeah, whatever you guys were going to give us for our 100th birthday, you have to give it to us next week, and the next week, and the next week.
We should have Paul try Yu-Gi-Oh! Themed foods and drinks.
We have tried.
We're going to start off with red medicine.
That could be anything. That sounds so dangerous. Thank you for the review. We really appreciate it. He gave us 5 stars. If you guys are listening anywhere that you can rate the video, then 5 stars sure helps. Or if not, then on YouTube, like, comment, share. We've got some Yu-Gi-Oh! News today.
Some Yu-Gi-Oh! Things did happen.
But maybe even more so than that, we have just the Switch 2 to talk about, this League of Legends card game to talk about. There's AI stories. It's a whole thing.
We got some things.
All right, so let's get started with the Yu-Gi-Oh! News.
Yu-Gi-Oh! News, TCG.
Been a mixture of kind of big and sort of small announcements. They've been, showcasing a lot of reveals for the upcoming, what is the set called? Quarter Century Stampede.
Stampede, yes.
Yeah, so that's been cool. Most of the stuff they've been revealing is are the cards that are in the sort of retro pool of things.
Pool, yeah.
Or at least it's sometimes hard to tell, because they kind of just show them all at once, and sometimes it'll be because it's all a reprint set.
For me, it's run together a bit. I've seen so many of those posts where I don't actually know what I'm looking at anymore. I'm saying, oh, look, some old cards. Oh, look, some moderately new cards. It's actually hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, I see some neat things. There's some Monarch reprints. I see Pantheism of the Monarchs and stuff.
They're preparing us.
Yeah, so they're obviously preparing us for some of that new Monarch stuff coming out. Just a lot of neat stuff. Moki Moki, Elder NC Norden, which is like currently banned, but they're reprinting
Norden
it. So
could come back.
it probably could. Like, I don't know.
Because
Maybe
isn't Instant Fusion still hit?
Yeah, Instant Fusion is still banned. So like there could be something with that.
Yeah, I guess you could bring Norden back.
You know, I see like cards like Dimensional Prison. They have their usual fun blurbs as well.
Oh, read one.
The best one is this one for Tour Guide from the Underworld.
Oh, tour guide's in there? That's nice.
Yeah, the blurb says, and in those comment sections over there, you'll see many silly answers. So I think.
Oh, because she does the quizzes.
Yeah, and also because she's like giving, you can see in her alt art that they use for this, she's giving a tour. Like literally, like the other monsters are behind her, and so she's like, you know, over in there in those comment sections, you'll see some fucking dumbass Yu-Gi-Oh players making idiotic comments every day. Maybe Konami's talking about the vomiting horse memes.
That was a time.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just a time; it still happens now.
What? People are still posting the vomiting horses?
People still post the
My
vomiting
God.
horses. Yeah, so it is very much a thing. It is happening. There also may or may not have been some illicit reveals of cards over the internet.
Guys, I have a PSA. If you have obtained information about Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have not been officially announced by Konami, I highly advise that you do not share that information in a way that can be tied to you or your Konami ID.
Yeah, players get banned for that. So seriously, just don't do it. Keep the information to yourself. You know, the cards will get revealed.
You can't help it if you see it, but you can help.
Yeah, don't like share it around because if you know the cards will get revealed eventually. So just to help you guys out, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with their practice of banning people. This is just so that people.
It would just be a horrible shock if you get an email one day and it's like, oh yeah, you're suspended from events.
Yeah, you kind of don't want that. Anyway, though, we did get an official release sort of blurb for Duelist Advance in the TCG.
Okay.
So this is exciting because this is going to be coming out on July 4th, which feels a little bit early actually for kind of a fall set. These are usually more
on
August.
July 4th?
Yeah, I know. That's like late.
We should call
summer.
that a holiday. Let's call it Yu-Gi-Oh Day. Yeah, the 4th of July every year from now on will be Yu-Gi-Oh
It's
Day.
Yu-Gi-Oh Day.
There will be no other holidays on this day.
Yeah. So this is Duelist Advance. It's kind of inspired by Return of the Duelist, I believe, is the old set, something like that.
That sounds
One of
about
them.
right.
Get ready to feel the flow and high five the sky with the latest Yu-Gi-Oh TCG set, Duelist Advance.
I don't know why I hate Yuma. I just do.
Forge the path to victory with brand new cards inspired by Yuma's deck from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. So they talk about number F0 Utopic Future Zexal. They also mention the new Sky Striker cards, a brand new Link 2 monster that can call upon Sky Striker Ace Ray and Rose from the deck and graveyard.
Has the Gaga engine ever been hit? Do we still just have all those cards at 3?
Yeah, they're all around.
Because see, that could be problematic. If we get new card design mixed with an already fairly solid engine, that could be problematic.
Yeah, there could be something going on there.
Those cards don't lock you into things.
The popular psychic monsters that were released in Extreme Victory have advanced to a whole new level. They let you find your way to new powerful teleport cards like Emergency Teleport.
Cosmo support.
Yeah, that's all that new psychic stuff we were talking about a couple weeks back. And the Monarchs are back, and they're not happy about how things have been going for them.
Woo!
There's revolution in the air as the Monarchs band together to put some new leadership in charge. Help them topple the throne with a brand new Monarch, a new Squire, and some exciting spell and trap cards.
I mean, and if you haven't heard about the new Monarch support, you've probably been under a rock because people have been buzzing about new Monarchs for weeks.
And of course, a brand new world premiere theme is ready to be assembled and launched into action. So I wonder what that could mean.
Assembled and launched. See,
That kind of
assembled
alludes
makes it
to-
sound like something you build. Launch makes it sound like something that
Like a rocket or a plane
Launch,
or
like a plane.
a cannon even maybe.
See, and this is upsetting. My first thought is Gunpla models because
How
you
cool would
assemble a
that
Gunpla model, but then in the Build Fighters anime, you would launch them into battle. But I doubt that's what this is.
Yeah, how cool would that be as an archetype? Like a kind of
I play
reference
it.
to them.
No matter what the play style is, I play it.
And perhaps most importantly, this will also be the return of Starlight Rares in the core booster sets that you'll be able to find
Starlight.
at about the same rate you could find quarter century secret rares the last couple of years. So what do we think about this? Because basically they're just replacing QCRs with Starlights.
Paul, I was up and now I'm back down.
Well, why are you down? I mean, I don't know
My
that it's
biggest
that
criticism of quarter centuries was just how often they appeared in sets. It did not feel as special. I didn't love the design of them, but I hated how often they showed up as compared to Starlights. I felt like my cards weren't as rare.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess it's cool because the Starlight rarity, I do like the way
More.
Starlights look.
Yeah, I think Starlights look better than QCRs. They're similar, to be clear, but Starlights are more, like, I find that the titles are more readable, and I find that I like that the colors don't feel so warm like they do in QCRs, and they don't have that stamp. I didn't really get too into the QCR stamp.
I guess I'm gonna have to see how I feel when I pull my first Starlight, and will it feel the same as an old Starlight? I'm very curious about that. I don't know.
Yeah, so Duelist Advance contains 10 secret rares, 14 ultra rares, 26 super rares, 50 commons, and 24 of these cards are also available as Starlight Rare, and one special card is only available as a Starlight Rare. So that's Duelist Advance, take it or leave it. It's kind of...
Wait, there's a card that's only available as a Starlight Rare?
They're just continuing the trend of like Time and Bonds of Unity Magicians. Like
we're still doing that. Okay.
No, I mean, it won't be them, I guess. It'll be something new, but they're continuing that trend, which is something. I mean, it's neat, I guess, like if you like it.
I wonder how much a complete collection of all those cards go. Each card and all their colors and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the Bond and Unity stuff.
Bond and Unity, Pride, the three-headed dragon deal, all of it. Just...
I'm actually really curious. Like, I wonder how much that goes for.
Because you have to be pretty diligent to get all those cards.
And that's actually kind of like the Yu-Gi-Oh! News for the week. I mean, I feel like there's not much else that I've really seen. I'll be at YCS Houston this weekend.
Houston?
Yeah, so you can meet me, I think Chris, Trell, maybe other people that you might know will be there. So it'll be cool. Alec won't be there because he hates me.
I wish I could be there.
No, it's fine. But yeah, so we'll be at YCS Houston. Come say hi if you're there.
I'm going to Nats, though, for sure.
I'm not sure if I will actually compete in the main Houston event. I wanted to, but I also feel like I might just kind of like hang out, play some side events, see what the modern
YCS he's running scared.
Like.
Don't let him. Y'all,
it's
tell Paul to
I
participate.
I haven't even gotten all the cards I needed for my deck, and so now I'm going to have to like...
You can get them at the event.
Something out. Yeah. But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to meeting people, seeing people. Come up, say hi. Snap a pic with me. If I'm not playing in the tournament, then maybe I can get a duel. But if, we'll see. Anywho, though, any other little quick card game stories before we get into what I would consider the big card game news of the...
Yeah, I got some things.
Yeah, what's going on?
So Magic the Gathering had a surprise April Fool's Day secret lair drop.
Okay,
and it's actually related to one of our previous stories where there was an unannounced Marvel secret lair on the docket, and it turns out it was Deadpool. We got secret lair x Marvel's Deadpool, and like any secret lair, you get a series of I think it's 5 cards, and one is like the Deadpool character himself, and then the other are they're reprints but with Deadpool artwork. So there's Deadpool trading card. That's the name of the card. Where, funny. As interestingly as enough, when it enters, you may exchange its text box with another creature's. So wow. Deadpool can take the effect of another creature. And I guess that could be yours or your opponent's. It could just be anything.
That sounds fun and very in line with kind of how he works.
But there's also Deadly Rollick, where Deadpool is riding a unicorn chasing Cable. Okay. Saw in Half, where Deadpool is... he's literally being sawed in half. But his healing factor. He won't die from that. There's Blasphemous Act, a staple in many a red deck. He is crunching on a chimichanga while snapping the Infinity Gauntlet, and it has fun little flavor text. It says, "You might be wondering why I've killed the Marvel Universe yet again, but the real question is, how am I breathing on the moon?" Because until that point, I didn't realize it was even on the moon. And last but not least is Vandal Blast, where it's him with a flamethrower. Oh, it's Deadpool with a flamethrower lighting Black Lotus on fire.
Oh, wow. That's actually very kind of fourth wall breaking. He's interacting with
with magic itself. It is a fourth wall break, and the effect does destroy a target artifact you don't control. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I saw some complaints about that Secret Layers thing just because, like the last couple Secret Layers, I guess expansions, since they modified the whole system, people were in long queues trying to get stuff. I know Larry and Chris were trying to get their hands on this, and I think eventually managed to. So,
but I do believe this is going to be one of the first Secret Layers that you can pick up from your local shop, at least in a non-foil version. So if you didn't get it on the drop this time, I believe you have another shot later.
Yeah, I hope so, because that's very cool. Like, a lot of people really like Deadpool. He's one of those Marvel characters where I feel he sort of just holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts,
right?
Just because his movies are very beloved. I feel like he's kind of in that tier with like close to like Spiderman, Daredevil, kind of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right, relax. Okay,
you don't think so?
Okay, so truth moment.
Okay,
I'm actually not that big of a Deadpool fan.
You're not, but I think people generally are.
I'm not. I don't see him on the same level as Spider-Man or the X-Men. To me, he's like a B-list anti-hero. That's just how I feel. I don't know.
That's fair. I don't have a strong opinion on him. I'm only relaying what I have seen from others.
Fair enough.
Okay, so here's some Pokemon news. First of all, I should preface this by saying Alex and I, this past weekend,
Alex, not Alec.
His brother Alex with an X. Alec has a C.
He does.
Yeah, Alex and I went out to try to find like Pokemon cards just around the city. We were bored. We thought it'd be fun. It turns out that it was like around the same, or I guess the same release day as that Journey Together set, which is new. We didn't know that. We didn't really plan for that to be the case, but that ended up kind of being the little video we made. So go watch it. It was cool. We managed to find a few packs left over at a Best Buy after it had been ravaged earlier that day. There was nothing left at GameStop. There was nothing left at Walmart or Target. They'd all been ransacked. So yeah, finding Pokemon cards is crazy. Well, anyway, Pokemon has made an official statement regarding the state of TCG product availability, because this is just sort of an ongoing thing for the past couple of sets. It seems like the Prismatic Evolution set was like this, and there's like one other.
Yeah. It's always like this, really.
We're aware that some fans are experiencing difficulties purchasing certain Pokemon TCG products due to very high demand impacting availability. We understand this inconvenience can be disappointing for fans, and we're actively working to print more of the impacted products as quickly as possible and at maximum capacity to acknowledge this. Reprinted products are expected to be available at participating retailers as soon as possible. So, yeah, they also mention how if you're trying to buy them on the Pokemon Center website, that they are implementing a virtual queue to help provide a more seamless purchasing process for certain products during periods of increased site traffic.
Now, I have actually heard some complaints about this system from card shop owners. Some people view this as Pokemon going around the stores, that more players will opt to just buy their product directly from the Pokemon company than go to their LGS.
I don't know if it's even, because I mean, like, they still have a queue thing. So, like, I don't know how that queue works. So I'm speaking kind of from a bit of a place of ignorance.
But that's what we always
I'm
do.
going to make it, yeah, that's all we do here. Yap without knowing shit. I think that, like, if you use the Pokemon Center method, you're probably accepting the fact that you still might not actually get things. Like, it's a queue. I don't know if it's like a lottery queue where it's like you just might not get it.
I know in Japan they love those lotteries.
Or if it's like just you sit on your computer for a few hours and kind of hope that you manage to get in. I don't really know. So I just think like if it's a system kind of like that, like people might still just go to their shops. I don't know.
Fair.
But yeah, so that's just a little quick update just from the Pokemon TCG side there. Trying to get you your products, guys. Calm down, relax. Yeah, so that's a good segue into all of the announcements around this new game, Riftbound, which is the League of Legends card game. Previously, it was known as Project K, but there is now a lot more official information on this.
We've actually seen what the cards look like.
So yeah, basically over the past few days, they have been showcasing the new card frames. This is Jinx.
It's Jinx.
A legend card.
Loose cannon.
Yeah, loose cannon. At the start of your beginning phase, draw one card and you have one or fewer cards in your hand. So the big takeaway from this is that they have redesigned the card frames. That's the very first thing I noticed about this. Because you remember when we first saw
they
these.
looked like bad One Piece cards.
Yeah, they had that weird kind of white border, and it just wasn't really good. Yeah, so they talked about that. They also talked about how the game's going to be releasing first in China this summer.
Yep.
And then in North America.
So it will not be a fully like international simultaneous release.
Yeah, it's going to be releasing in North America in October of this year. And then finally, the rest of the world kind of just over the next couple months after that. So they're kind of going to be doing a bit of a rolling release. Also, there's just a lot more information about the fact that like the game's got a 4-player mode.
Yeah, it's got a 4-player battle royale mode and a 4-player like team.
Yeah,
mode.
like a 2v2
2v2
sort of mode that they've got going. So I thought that was really cool.
Sounds a lot like the Gundam TCG.
You can pre-order the Arcane box set. That's like I think the first set that they're doing.
So.
And so pre-orders are going to be opening soon, though there's not an exact date. And yeah.
You know those things are going to fly. Like, first off, calling it Arcane. That's a huge
That's a big
swing
draw for a lot of people.
in the right direction. The League of Legends is one of the most popular video games on the internet. They have one of the most popular video game adaptations on the internet. Like, those pre-orders are going to disappear.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my best to participate.
Yeah, that's really cool. They've also got just some information on some of the pack structure and everything.
Ooh.
So like for instance, they've got these pre-constructed decks for Victor, Jinx, and Lee Sin. I'm going to be saying these names. Just know
that Jinx one's going to be hard to get.
Yeah, I don't know really that much about League of Legends, the characters. I watched a little bit of Arcane, and that's about it. But yeah, these are the 3 starter decks. Pre-constructed decks, I guess, not really starter decks. They contain 56 cards each, and they're going to sell to stores for an MSRP of $79.96.
$79?
That's for all of them.
Oh.
So, and contains 4, so it's a champion deck. It contains 4 decks, and each champion deck has a value of roughly $20. That was a little confusing to me because I was like, wait,
okay,
so.
I get it now.
Yeah, so a champion deck is 4 separate decks.
Yes, I guess.
I think is what they're saying.
We don't really know how the game is played yet, so there might be some information we're missing.
There's also a booster box system. So the booster box is going to have an MSRP of $120. Each pack contains 14 cards. I don't know how many packs are in a booster pack, though. They don't seem to say.
Is it not written on the box? I mean, they might have those small details on this. Like,
yeah. I'm basically following this Twitter account called Riftbound Report. So it's just like reporting on literally every new thing that comes out about the game.
Check it out.
So that's kind of cool. Also, there's the Proving Grounds box set. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting value prop they've got going here. So this is $29.99. Here's what you get. It's basically like a 4-player starter set, which I think is really awesome. It contains 4 champion decks for Annie, Garen, Master Yi, and Lux. Don't know who those characters are, but they're probably popular. 4 paper playmats, 4 acrylic champion figures for tracking your life points. Which that's kind of a fun little thing to include. Yeah. They included that in like the Lorcana box thing that Alex and I tried. Yeah, you got to have that. And all 4 decks are designed to help teach new players how to play the game for a low cost. So for $29.99, I gotta say that sounds like a pretty around market price for these sorts of products.
Sounds too good of a price.
Yeah, and I like that they're doing like a 4-player teach thing, you know? Like 4 people.
As long as it guides the 4 players on how to play. Because otherwise you'll just have 4 people just staring at each other like, can I do this? I don't know.
I played my fair share of card games that aren't in a hurry to teach you how to play them, but this one seems like they are. In fact, we watched that video earlier where they were showcasing just a little bit of everything. What'd you think of that?
The video or the cards?
The video, the cards,
The video was a good step towards transparency. It seems they're trying to lead with being community first. They talk about why they changed the designs of the cards. They said it's because of the feedback they got from players, which I feel like you shouldn't need a lot of feedback to know those are butt ugly, but hey. The idea was being community driven and being transparent. And they led with that, so I respect it. The new cards do look good. I'm very curious how they'll feel in hand, but just eyeball test, they pass.
Yeah, the cards look really cool. Something I was kind of curious about, I guess, just given that it's League of Legends. So I do not play League, obviously, if you couldn't tell. But
You don't look like a League player.
what does a League player look like?
League people.
Maybe we shouldn't get into
people who've played League. They know.
Okay.
There's a look.
Well, yeah, I don't really play League of
And a
Legends.
smell.
I don't know a lot about the characters as a result. I know about Jinx, but I also know that like Arcane was very popular and a lot of people liked that.
Yes.
So I guess my question then is, how popular will this game be?
It will probably be.
Because I know that League is
Huge.
big. League is a big deal.
I fully expect this card game to knock on the door of being like top 5 in the industry.
Top 5, you think? Okay.
Yes, League of Legends is huge in China. They're launching in China first. I know.
Here, yap for a sec while I set these lights up.
Oh,
It's
go
just
for
getting
it.
kind of dark.
I know I know a lot of people who play League actively today. I know double the amount who used to play League. And the thing is, they don't hate the League of Legends universe. They just had to quit for their mental health and sanity, and sometimes for their family's sake. But everyone I know who currently or used to play League, they love that universe. And Riot is giving them a chance to interact with that universe that isn't through the League of Legends game. And I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah. I think, so as for me, I mean, I feel like it's going to come down to whether or not people who already play League and know about it choose to try this game out because it is associated with League, or if they...
Well, if they're active League players, they're not going to have enough time to play.
I was getting into that, actually. But, it makes me wonder, I guess there's, 3 questions. So the first one is, will this be a game that is played mostly by, I play existing card games, and I just, saw that League is launching, so I'm going to hop into that as well.
There's a lot of people who they just hop to whatever the new game is.
Just kind of hop to the new game.
That's
Lots
not
of
enough
those.
to sustain, but it is a good boost
Yeah,
here
it's
in early
a start.
numbers.
There will be card gamers who just want to try this because it's there. It's at their card shop, whatever. The second thing is would a League of Legends fan be interested in trying out a card game? I'm inclined to say yes.
I think it's a 100% yes.
Because if you like League, you're into strategy type of games, and just about the characters, about the IP.
With how long League has been around, these people bleed League. They love those characters. They'll die for those characters.
Yeah.
They all watched Arcane 6 times, and they'll play this game as well.
Yeah, so my only other last concern then would just be where does it kind of fall in the general card game space? You were saying you think it'll be really popular, maybe even a top 5 style game. I could see it. I guess, do you say I guess that's just right below kind of the Yu-Gi-Oh! One Piece?
Yeah, I think it's a disruptor to the same degree as One Piece. I didn't expect One Piece to be as big as it has been, but I fully expect League of Legends to be right there with it.
I think it kind of will be where Lorcana seems like it maybe wanted to be and has since somewhat faltered in being. Where it's okay, Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! That's kind of your little trifecta. One Piece has quickly barged in and is knocking on the door. In some areas, it is the number 3 in some places.
It is the door.
It is kicked Yu-Gi-Oh! Out in some spaces. It's kicked, Pokemon or Magic. It just kind of depends.
Flatten the other Bandai games.
And it's, also dwarfed a lot of the other the other Bandai games. I don't know really what number 5 is. It feels like that kind of varies from where you are. I think in some places it's Lorcana. I think in some places it's Vanguard. I think in some places it's just a different Bandai game.
I think in every place, League of Legends will take the 5th spot.
I think, that I could totally buy. I think that it will have a good floor.
But it's a little different from the rest of these games. League of Legends is so popular in Asia, it could do numbers we've never seen.
Yeah, it's interesting they're releasing it in China first. I thought that was kind of unique. I know that League is pretty big over there, so that sort of makes sense as a good, I don't know if you call it a testing ground, but a good first spot. That's a large population of people, a lot of gamers who are very invested in this IP, and we'll just give it a good boost.
'Cause I mean, so many games. It's like, oh, you play it in the West and you play it in Japan. Like you don't even say East. It's just West Japan, West Japan.
Yeah.
In this case, it's gonna be China and then the rest of y'all.
Yeah, it's neat to see China kind of being seen as like the big first like continent, or not continent, but like first like kind of country. Like it just, I don't know. That seems interesting.
The market has to be huge. We know that there's at least interest in the League of Legends property there. So, I mean, I'm really interested in seeing what the sales data is going to look like. I mean, I'm more interested in getting my own cards. Like I said, I will most definitely be picking up some League of Legends cards if I can.
One last thing too is that out the gate, 4-player game mode. I think that we're hitting a point that this is like an industry norm. You launch a new game, you have a commander mode,
Got to.
And this is also, it kind of feels similar to the Gundam game, where not only is there like a 4-player little battle royale mode, but there's a team mode.
Yep.
And it's funny because like those two games will be releasing relatively close to each other.
It's 1 year after the other.
No. Like same year.
No, I thought
Gundam's coming out in this summer.
In July.
But this game's coming out in October.
But that's only in China.
No, October is here, and China's in the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're really getting it out.
Yeah, so like China will be launching at the same time that Gundam is, period. Or like, probably within a month of those two games. But we're not getting it until the fall. But still though, that's like very close. So
I'm actually surprised that it's releasing this year with how well they've kept the lid on
most of it,
on the launch for it.
Yeah, so like that's going to be a real like fierce competition. But just to get back real quick to that point, that like a lot of games, it feels like you got to launch with the multiplayer mode. You got to, even with the video that they made, it feels like there's a big focus on kind of being casual, they're aware there will be people who try this and it might be their first card game. And so it needs to be easy to read, pick up, play.
But I don't like the word casual. These aren't going to be casual players. They're coming from League. They compete. They suffer.
Yeah.
They may not know how to read cards, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I will have my eyes on this because I did play League like a little bit once, and I did watch some Arcane. So that's enough for me. No, but seriously though, I do know that like League is popular. People love those heroes. You see so much like cosplay of them and fan art and all these things, and so like people are into it. That's all the card game stuff, I believe.
Yeah, that's it for card games.
Other big story of the week then. Nintendo Switch 2. So Nintendo did a whole hour-long Nintendo Direct presentation that a lot of people were looking forward to, and we got loads of information about this new console.
People were tweeting like crazy.
Yeah, people have a lot to say. I guess the best place to start with this really is just some of the general like technical specs and stuff.
Before we get into the specs, I just want to say this.
Okay.
I feel like the Switch 2 was designed for adults. I feel like the Switch had more kid in mind. I feel like the Switch 2, it's aimed at grown people who should be spending their money otherwise, but here we are.
We'll get into that because I do have some thoughts on that, what you just said, because I think it's kind of a mix. But yeah, so the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to release on June 5th, 2025. You already know this. Like you're watching this on Thursday. And it's going to cost $449. There's also a Switch 2 plus Mario Kart World bundle that's going to be $500. Anyway, some of the upgrades, and we'll get back to the price in a moment because I know that's a big issue. But some of the general upgrades that we sort of knew about the Switch 2 but now are confirmed, things like having 2 USB-C ports, things like really nice. Having a larger 7.9-inch screen that's obviously got like a sleeker design, smaller bezels. The Joy-Cons are magnetic now.
I hope that means that they won't do that whole like flappy thing I've noted. Because I never had like a proper Switch. But whenever I held one, like they always felt loose.
That would happen. The rails on them could get kind of could like snap or kind of break or bend. And then it wouldn't really slide in smoothly. That happened to one of mine. And I think I had to replace it or something. So it seems like overall the system is just built with more modern, kind of just better quality standards. The Joy-Cons now attach magnetically, so I think that's a better system. They increased the size of the like SL and SR buttons, the little like small kind of buttons they had on the top.
Oh yeah, on the little Joy-Cons.
Yeah, they were very small, like small and flat, but now they're much bigger and they seem to protrude a little bit more, so I think they'll be easier to use. The Joy-Cons can be used as mice, like a computer mouse.
Oh, I remember I did see that. I thought that was actually pretty interesting.
I wonder if you can, like, I guess use it with your computer. Because they said it was like kind of supposed to be used like for gaming, like just like with Switch games.
But like, wouldn't you then have to like connect your entire Switch to your computer?
Well, no, it might just be that they use Bluetooth.
Oh, do the Joy-Cons use Bluetooth? Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe.
Because that's how you can use them wirelessly. Is they use.
I guess that makes sense. It does make sense.
So that might be kind of a cool thing. So overall, like I think hardware wise, oh yeah, and a couple of, I guess, other little things. The screen is now 1080p as opposed to 720p on the original Switch. Like I said, it's bigger. It's actually HDR compatible, which sort of surprised me. So like high dynamic range, you can see like deeper blacks, brighter whites, that sort of thing, more contrast, or more detail in high and low contrast areas. And they also talked about how there's like a microphone kind of built into the console, so you can talk directly into it. It can filter.
Boy, I feel like that's going to get annoying fast.
Yeah, all the 12-year-olds screaming into their mics now.
It's like, playing Fortnite and like some kid is just playing in a busy like bus terminal.
Well, they say that it's supposed to be able to kind of filter out like background noise reasonably well, which there's a lot of tech to do that these days.
Voices though.
So like it can just filter your voice from the blender in the background or something.
I'm skeptical because that mic is pointed away from the user.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to really work. But anyways, when you plug it into your TV, though, you can get up to 4K resolutions and play games up to 120 FPS.
Okay.
These are kind of modern gaming advances that a lot of people have been asking for from the Nintendo Switch.
What was the frames on the last one?
It could go up to 1080p 60. Not like many games actually really got that high, but it could do that. Now it can go up to 4K and 120, but also I don't think that many games will actually be hitting those numbers.
I'm sure they're going to announce something that can do 4K.
There's now going to be this. So that's the physical stuff, I guess, to get that
hardware.
So how do we feel about some of that?
Sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, there's one thing I forgot to mention. Sorry. 256 gigs of internal storage as opposed to the 32 on the Switch.
They multiplied that.
So 8 times as much storage, although it's really sad because 256 is not that much storage.
It's
really.
not, but my God, 36?
32 or 32, whatever.
That's not a lot.
And they use micro SD express cards. So you cannot use regular micro SD cards. You have to use these express cards because they have faster read and write speeds, which is, so that way you can play games off your SD cards now. I mean, you could always do it, but now you'll be able to
they'll perform
load times and stuff will be faster. So that is now the hardware stuff. Any standout neat things that kind of like looked?
The storage is, I think, the big winner to me. I mean, I know you could always use micro SDs to expand your storage, but 32 gigabytes meant that you could have like one game, maybe two downloaded onto the Switch's memory. Like that's not great. But with 256, I can load in all the Pokemon games I want.
Yeah,
because that's actually all I use a Switch for.
They also introduced something called Game Chat, which is a new online feature that will let players play and talk to each other while playing Switch 2 games.
Uh-oh.
So once Game Chat is activated, players will be able to press the C button on the right Joy-Con to not only start chatting with friends, but also share their screen. So it's kind of similar to like if you're in an old Discord call with people, you can share your screen with them, the game that you're playing.
Oh, the cyberbullying begins now.
And also, they have this little camera peripheral, which is a USB-C like webcam thing.
Oh, it's a peripheral. Okay. I was like, the camera's built in?
Yeah, it'd be a little creepy.
It's always on.
But, I mean, like when you think about your phone has a built-in camera.
Right. My phone's in my pocket right now.
Well, yeah, but half the time you're scrolling, it's looking at you.
Right.
Anyway, the point is, though, so you set this beside your TV, and, it has a little thing you can close up.
It captures your movements like a Kinect.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it can actually remove your background and like overlay you in front of your gameplay that you're streaming to your friends. So it can literally be like a whole like we are streaming to each other. Like you see my Mario Kart screen, see my face.
Can you connect to Twitch though?
I guess not. I will say though, as much as we sort of joke about these features, it looked a lot like Discord, and Discord was clearly like the inspiration for this just the design and the UI of this.
Well, I imagine they want it to seem familiar so that there's fewer hurdles that users have to go through.
Yeah, while also simultaneously keeping it in-house, because I don't think that Nintendo would want to like partner with Discord, because what happens if Discord's gone in 2 years?
Right.
You know, that sort of thing. So Nintendo probably wants to kind of keep it all under their own roof. But they did keep it looking very familiar and similar and stuff. And what was I going to say? It seems like this is like there's a big focus on like playing with your friends, which like it's a Nintendo console, duh, that's always kind of been a focus, but like they're really kind of thrusting themselves into the modern age of like,
yeah, it's that modern style of communal gaming.
yes. When you think about like, you know, your younger siblings, nieces, nephews who might be like around, you know, 10, 13, 14, whatever, I think that they're going to love this feature. Like just the fact that it kind of feels like you are effectively Twitch streaming with your Switch friends. Mm-hmm. You know, like the gameplay they showed was Mario Kart, which I'll talk about in a second. But like, you know, you and your friends driving around on Mario Kart, and then also like everybody's sharing their screens. You can see where other people are, and then like you see their faces and they're laughing and like talking and making jokes. It feels like I could really see this being a big part of what gets a new generation of kids like locked into that Nintendo.
Yeah, I think my nephew's really gonna enjoy it. Like
sort of thing.
Once he starts grad school, I think he'll really enjoy it. Like,
please be serious.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Alec's son, who's in grad school now.
My son, he's 25. He can't wait to get a Switch too. I wouldn't buy him a Switch, but I think he's finally earned a Switch too. So
yeah. So I think that's really cool. There's also a feature that they mentioned called Game Share, where do you remember DS Download Play?
How could I forget DS Download Play? That was one of the greatest features any console or handheld has ever had.
Yeah, that was really cool. Well, they actually have the same feature here where if your friends have this Switch 2 and you have a Switch 2 and you've got a game that's got game share features, you can all play it with only like one person having the game.
See, I really like that. It felt like the gaming industry purposefully moved away from features like that for a long time. I'm glad that Nintendo is picking that right back up.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I say how great that is, but in my personal life, I'm not 100% sure how useful that would be for me.
I mean, I think that it is, again, one of those features where this is all about the kids. Like, if you and your friend, you know, you put yourself kind of you're like in a sixth grader, let's say, and, you know, you put yourself in those shoes. You have
some small shoes, and my feet wouldn't fit.
You have a Switch 2, and your friends have, like, Switch 2s. But because these games cost a little bit of money, I'm going to get into that. I promise. We're talking about that. There's a lot to say about that. But, you know, you and your friends all have Switches. And so now like one friend gets a new game, but like Mario Party or something, but you can all play it.
Right.
After school or at lunch or whatever. And like on the bus, whatever. And like that sounds like an experience. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like they're going to ban Mario Party in schools.
Yeah. Because like that just sounds like so much fun. Like I feel like these are some of the things that when I was a kid in school, these are things that like we sort of dreamt of, you know, is like being able to like just everybody have like a Game Boy or something or a DS, and like but like only one person's got the game and you can all play it.
I remember, well, it wasn't a download play scenario, but one of my happiest moments was when Pokemon Diamond and Pearl released, and it had the underground system.
Oh my God, that was great.
And so I remember it was 4 of us. It was me, my brother, and 2 friends. I think at least 2. I think there was actually more. And we would all play together during lunch.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Oh, it was such a fun time.
We got to have an experience like that. Like, there would be like baseball games. Like there's like this rec center in my city where there's all the different sports are basically just played on these. Mm-hmm. They had like football field, baseball fields, all that stuff. And so we would all kind of, whenever somebody was doing something there, we'd have like all have a reason to be there. We would all like play like in the underground and stuff. It was just very fun.
Like you're going to a place for physical activity. You sit down and pull out your Game Boys.
Yeah, we just play on the bleachers. But it was really cool. I think this feature though will be that for a lot of kids. Like, you know, one kid's got Mario Kart, one kid's got Mario Party, one kid has, we'll say Smash Bros. Whenever that, you know, like that would be so cool. I think it's just, all of you playing.
And there's the one freeloader. He's got the Switch, no games.
He has no games.
It's just like, hey guys, what y'all bring today?
So,
and there might be a good reason to not have any games.
Yeah. So that brings us though to probably the elephant in the room. The new Mario Kart game.
Yeah, that's what you want to talk about, right?
Mario Kart World. It's the big new release. It's going to be, of course, dropping with the Switch 2. They were very smart to release Mario Kart with it. That's always a system seller. You can get the little bundle. It's $500.
Everybody loves Mario Kart.
This one's a little different, though, because there are a couple of neat new features. The main one being...
I'm assuming it's social.
Yeah. The 24-player races. Awesome.
That's like double.
Yeah, double what it previously was, like 12 people or whatever. It's huge, and there's like regular Grand Prix, but also they have a new mode that kind of, I forget what they called it, but like it's similar to Fall Guys.
Oh, like a people fall off if they don't progress far
survival mode where you're doing a Grand Prix and you're racing through like a bunch of tracks, but after each track, only a certain amount of people progress to the next one. So like maybe, the first one's a 24-man race, but then after that, it's like a 20-man race, and then like a 16, so on and so forth. And so by the end of it, it might just be down to like just 2 people or something. And that could be fun.
Yeah, you got to prove yourself.
In addition to that, though, they have an open world mode where you can just drive around. Just drive right off the track, and you're just driving around with your friends exploring.
See, my instinct is to talk down on a feature like this, but I remember... I've played so many games that had just open world driving in the game. And so I imagine even in Mario Kart, just hopping in your cart and just doing wheelies with your buddies or visiting locales.
Yeah, you can go to locales. You can do...
I wonder if you can hit people.
Probably. You can do snapshots. Like there's like a photo mode.
But I mean, can I run over a Koopa though?
I wouldn't be surprised if there are actually probably like Goombas and Koopas around that you can they'll probably hurt you, as opposed to the other way around. But yeah, so you can like take screenshots with your friends, and so that kind of gets back to that whole game sharing and like online chat feature where like you are sharing your screen with your friends. It's like, oh, here's where I am. Look at my screen. Like that's where I am. Like come find me. And then also you've got like your webcam and your voice chat. It's like it's this whole online sort of experience that they are touting.
Now I think about it, I'm surprised they didn't do this. They should have used like the slogan like "Switch together." Get it? Switch together.
Oh, that'd be kind of clever. Get Alec in the marketing department.
Hey, put me on.
Yeah. So that's Mario Kart. There's another game called Donkey Kong Bonanza that was shown.
I actually have not seen
new
it.
3D Donkey Kong game. Kind of felt open worldy, like it vaguely feels like Donkey Kong's sort of Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild-esque game.
Ah, the big one.
A little more open. And a Kirby Air Riders game. So originally it was...
Is this a remake or a new one?
It is a new game.
Oh.
So originally there's Kirby's Air Ride or whatever. Kirby Air Ride?
Yeah, Kirby Air Rider.
Now it's Kirby Air Riders.
Riders.
Yeah. So kind of neat.
Kind of like...
It's being directed by Masahiro Sakurai. No actual gameplay was shown. It was just like a really cool CG trailer, but it looks like it's going to be coming out, here in the next little bit.
That game is old. I remember being a kid playing Kirby Air Riders.
All right, now I think we can finally talk about the actual elephant in the room that we've been avoiding.
Elephant Mario.
That's right. In, what is that game? Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about now.
The price of the Switch 2. There's been a lot of talk and discussion about this because this is just, for obvious reasons, a big point of contention. In a capitalistic society, you're expected to buy things that cost money.
If you want to enjoy yourself, you got to invest.
So the Switch 2 costs $450. Right off the bat, that is an increase from the price of the original Nintendo Switch, which, if I'm correct, launched at $300. And then also there was a Switch OLED, which was $350, I believe. Mm-hmm. If I have my prices correct, it's like approximately those. Then there's also like a Switch Lite that was a little cheaper. This jump to $450 feels quite steep. And I want to know what you think about this price. Not like, the price is kind of what it is, but when you hear like a Nintendo console kind of costing $450, does that seem like where are you at with that?
I mean, I've never felt like Nintendo consoles were worth their price. Oftentimes, that's why I would spring for like the light versions of things. Mm-hmm. But a console's next generation going up by $100, isn't that just kind of standard nowadays?
Well, it's $150.
It feels like, I mean, I thought the OLED was...
The OLED was $350, so it's $100 more than that, but it's
Yeah.
like $150 more than just a base Switch was.
But I mean, the if we're taking the progression, right, the OLED is kind of like a Switch 1.5 being an upgrade, a Switch.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're going 100 off of that. To me, that feels kind of normal. And I know that's normal in an abnormal society, but, I mean, PlayStation and Xbox, they've been getting it out of us for years. It was only a matter of time before Nintendo's pricing started to feel a little...
So I guess what you're saying is the price makes sense, like, you know, from just a company kind of business perspective. Of course, they're going to price it this way, but you probably wouldn't buy one at launch, is what you're maybe saying, like for the $450 price tag.
Well, but I'm left in a bit of a spot. I typically opt to get their light versions of consoles when I can. But
currently,
they didn't
that's not a thing.
Announce that.
I mean, of course they didn't, right? Because like the Switch didn't have its light version until like a year or two in or something.
So I don't know. Like, so if they literally just don't do a Switch 2 Lite, then I will have to get a Switch 2 because I have to be able to play the new Pokemon games. It's literally the only reason I buy Nintendo hardware.
Yeah, that actually brings me to another thing, which is that. There are going to be games that have Switch and Switch 2 compatibility. So they're going to be releasing like kind of some upgrade packs, basically, for games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Mario Party Jamboree was one of them.
So they're updating older games?
They're taking some existing better? Switch games so they'll perform better.
Okay.
You can play them on the Switch 2. We don't know the exact price of what that upgrade is, or at least I have not seen what that upgrade cost is. It might be like $10, $20. But if you have the existing game, you can upgrade it for like a small fee.
If they're going to do it, it should be free or don't upgrade at all, in my opinion.
If
I've already paid for Breath of the Wild and I've played it and completed it, why should I pay more just so the game I already completed looks better?
Listen.
It feels like a bit of a waste of money.
Yeah, no, I don't know. They might just be free. I didn't, I guess, read enough of that to know, but... Anyway, games like Pokemon Z to A are actually going to be released on the original Switch. So you can play it. You don't have to actually get it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I won't do it.
Yeah, you can just play it on your Switch. You'll get much better performance on the Switch too, but for some people that's not like so important that they would upgrade. Speaking of the game's prices, though. So Mario Kart World costs $80.
Huh?
$79.99 for Mario Kart World.
$79.99. I thought I'd never see the day.
I know, and it's kind of strange because
a
Nintendo game is setting this new bar.
It's not even like secondary market. That's just
MSRP. $80. Now, to be clear, we don't know that this will necessarily be the default price for everything because Donkey Kong Bonanza seems to be $70. Which 70 is kind of the new norm for AAA kind of new releases.
So for Nintendo, that's still quite high.
Yeah, Nintendo recently started kind of hitting the $60 point with some of their games. I think Tears of the Kingdom was $70, I believe, was their first time doing that. I don't remember. I'm not like a Switch expert. Some people are. And also, let me just add to that, the Mario Kart World game that's $80, that's only for the digital edition. If you get the physical edition, it's $90.
Jeez. Okay. So yeah, they say just do not buy the physical. Use up your 252 gigs. Just use it all up as fast as you can.
So, what do we think of the price
of the games?
At least of Mario Kart and perhaps other games too.
I mean, I wouldn't personally. I'll say this. I wouldn't buy them anyway. I don't actually buy those types of games.
Well, I
was just going to lead off with that.
Yeah.
Because just to be clear, that's not, I don't buy those types of games. But this is what I'll say for everybody else, though. Nintendo games like Mario Kart and Mario Party have some of the highest replayability of anything in the gaming space. Performance-wise, they're went. But then, like, playing time-wise, ding, 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 these games... These games get replayed over and over and over again. You get hours, you get days of enjoyment out of them. Like,
Yeah.
I think if any game is going to cost you $70 or $80, maybe it should be a game that you're going to play like
forever, right?
Forever, at every event, every function, every gathering. You're going to get that value out the game, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I first saw these prices, I was like, okay, this is way too much. And I still feel like it's way too much. But at least in the case of Mario Kart, and probably I'd also say like Smash Bros. And stuff like that, like you said, these are games that will be played for, just years and years. Like there's so much.
Also get updates.
Yeah, there's so much replayability, and Mario Kart's like updates are like some of that stuff is like free, right? Or like most of it.
Who knows? I don't buy them.
But those were that was the whole thing. I think that you just consider how many like you said, family gatherings and just social gatherings and stuff where you'll get a lot of value out of these games. I think it makes it at least a little bit of an easier pill to swallow. These aren't games that you're going to like play one time for maybe 10 hours and then like it's the end of it. Seemingly. I mean, I guess there could be games that do that.
If you don't want to pay for it, there's always Game Share.
Yeah, that's true. I guess for like these multiplayer games. Just
what if Game Share is like a subscription or something?
Well, you do have to have like Nintendo Online, I think.
Oh, okay. So
but Nintendo Online is fairly cheap. So.
For now.
Yeah, they might
if
go
we're
up
increasing
on that too.
the price of literally everything else, why not?
Yeah, there's probably reason to believe it'll probably go up too. Yeah, so it's a hefty price. I look back and I remember that there were times in like the 90s though, where like Super NES games actually cost like upwards of $80 at times, like some of the biggest ones, if you can believe that. And that was in the 90s.
That was MSRP or
MSRPs.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is not like the first time that gaming has been sort of a luxury of sorts.
I think about it. I think, was it Super Nintendo games that also had the upgrade packs?
I think so. I don't remember.
Are we going back in time?
Feels like it sometimes. Something I'll also add to that though is like, I think that a concern some people have is like, this might be setting the industry standard for this new pricing model. Where Nintendo's shown that they're willing to charge you $80 for Mario Kart. So now does the average AAA game just rise from 70 to 80 because people saw, Nintendo did it first, it worked for them?
Yes.
And I think 100% yes, that's going to be the case.
There's no way Sony and Microsoft are going to let Nintendo outprice them.
This reminds me a lot of the iPhone 10 for those of my like kind of fellow smartphone nerds. The iPhone 10 came out in like I want to say 2017. But it was the first $1,000 smartphone.
I thought it was so obscene.
And it set the industry standard for flagship smartphones to cost $1,000. And since then, I mean, that's kind of been about how like your average flagship phone gets priced is like it's $1,000, maybe more if you expand the memory and stuff. And so this feels like this could be sort of Nintendo leading the way into an era where we're just paying $80 for these games, maybe even 90. Because see, what I think honestly is going to happen is that this will probably see like legitimately just lower sales, and I don't know if the Nintendo brand name will coast it through. Because I think that $450 is just not a price tag that people associate with Nintendo consoles, and I think that will be like a big deterrent for them.
Well, normies don't associate Nintendo consoles with a price; they don't think about it.
I think that normies associate Nintendo consoles with being more affordable than Xbox and PlayStations, I think is probably a better way to put that. So I don't think that they have a certain price tag in mind, but I think that they expect them to be cheaper than those. And this time, it is not cheaper than those. It is the same price as those, roughly. I mean, you can get a PS5, and there's like the PS5 like digital version. That's like $450 and $500. And then like the same with the Series X. And like this is just right up there with them in pricing. And so now I do feel like that's where there will be Nintendo might see some legitimate struggles. I think one of the ways though that it seems like they're maybe sort of trying to combat that is, and I think this is by design, it feels like the Switch and the Switch 2 are sort of being marketed as like the Switch 2 is just sort of an extension of the Switch in a sense. Like it's not quite like the confusion of the Wii and the Wii U, but I feel like so many of these games are backwards compatible. Your Nintendo Online account just kind of transfers over. Your retro games transfer over. There's versions of games you can just like play the Switch version or the Switch 2 version.
So games, will all the games have a Switch 2 and a Switch version?
New games going forward, I don't think so. But I think that in this like launch period, they kind of want it to just seem like it's all about the same. Because like we know Pokemon Z to A is going to have both, and it's not out yet. So like that'll be like one example of that. But I know like Mario Kart World is like only going to be on the Switch too, and I think that's the same for Bonanza.
I would think they wouldn't want to repeat the issue that we had with the PlayStation 5 launch, where a lot of people didn't move on from their PS4s. One, because the PS5 was hard to get to and was expensive, but mostly because a lot of games that were launching on PS5 were just also on PS4.
Yeah, that's something that I was kind of wondering, like, will that, in a way, it kind of makes it seem like an easier, like, you don't feel so much pressure to upgrade. Like, it kind of feels like you just might graduate to a Switch 2, if that makes sense.
I think it does make sense. And I think a lot of people will still rise to the occasion to buy the Switch 2. I think it'll just be that then they just won't upgrade their console or add more to their children's like gaming library as often. Because I know when I grew up, I got a PS2 and a PS1 in the same year, just because two different family members wanted to buy me a console, and they didn't really work together on that. So we sent the PS1 back. We kept the PS2. When the PS3 came out, my parents were not in a place to buy us a new console. They were just like, your PS2 is still working, right? You can let that rock.
Yeah.
I think that with the Switch 2 being as expensive as our current PlayStations and Xboxes, parents will shell out the money to get it. And then that's kind of it for a long minute.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I think that's what I was getting at is like, I think people, if they do buy their kid a Switch 2, Nintendo's kind of like got this thing where it's a little obfuscated. You can just have a Switch 2 and then tell your kid, okay, now you just keep playing those Switch games.
Like they'll probably get the kid a Switch 2 in one game,
and you'll get you'll get Mario Kart.
Boy, you're gonna struggle to get more.
Yeah, you'll get Mario Kart, and you'll shut up for
$80 a game
for the next 6 months until your birthday or something.
I think the big thing is when do you think they'll stop selling the Switch? Because I think the Switch still has a very important place in modern society. The Switch is that cheap game console that gets the job done. Like maybe you're a single parent and you're just trying to make it. You're moving up in the world, but not so fast where you can buy your kid everything that they want. It's a much easier pill to swallow to buy that Switch 1. It's the cheap console. When my dad was terrified my younger brother would destroy anything we gave him, what did he get? He got a Switch. Why? Because if he was going to destroy something, at least let it be a lower investment device than, let's say, a PS5.
Yeah, and now that distinction is not so clear.
Because once the Switch 1 is gone, there is no quote unquote budget gaming console.
When do you think they take the Switch off the shelf? If I had to throw out a guess, I'd say so this console's coming out in June. I think that they will probably be selling Switches until like 2027.
You're giving it better than I thought. I was going to give it a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, it's like 2027.
Because I think, is it 2027 at that point?
Yeah, it's like right. All of 2026, the rest of 2025. Yeah. I think like basically like early 2027, you kind of they maybe just aren't anymore. Or at least not making
it's in
new
Nintendo's
ones.
best interest to wean people off the Switch 1 as best they can. The only issue is there are new families being born every day, and they won't. At some point, they will not have a Switch 1 to turn.
Maybe the bigger question is, when do we get our Switch 2 Lite? Like, presuming that they will do the same thing.
I really hope there's a Switch 2 Lite, because that's literally what I'll get.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think that a Switch 2 Lite sounds like I think will be like a great option for people, because I'm serious. Like, this $450 thing, I think it's gonna hurt, and I think that like doing a Switch 2 Lite, because how much the Switch Lites were like $199, weren't they?
I do not remember the price.
Or like $179, something like that.
Right, what I wanted to pay.
Yeah, I think if they can do a Switch 2 Lite that's like about $250, let's say, maybe even 300, but like 250. I think that will far and away be a popular like thing.
But if they announce a new Pokemon game that's locked into the Switch 2 before they announce a Switch 2 Lite, I'll have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, they'll just have to. That'll get Alex money right there.
Yep. So my question to you, Paul, is: are you day oneing this?
I am not pre-ordering one.
Okay.
I am not so excited that I think I need to have it on day one. I am a launch window buyer. So when I say that, I mean that like it comes out on June 5th, and that's close to my birthday. So I might just kind of feel like, oh, well, this will be my little birthday gift. But I am not like chomping at the bit to have this on day one because there's not a game yet for me that does it for me. Like I don't have to have Mario Kart on day one. I would like to have it, but like I just don't have to. If there was a Smash Bros, that's probably when I'll like bite the bullet. Or
Fair.
What will likely happen is like when Pokemon Z to A comes out, then I might just kind of decide, well, this is about the right time. Because when Z to A comes out, like I'm guessing that's like what, like November-ish, something like that. They said it's like sometime later this year. That might be like when I buy it. Like I'm not going to be, this is not going to be like a like fight for the day one pre-order and the Nintendo queue or whatever. Like it's, that isn't to say that I'm not impressed with what I've seen or that it doesn't look good, but just that like I'm not.
Do you think there are too many or too few exclusives for this new console?
What? Oh, you mean like?
Because when the PlayStation 5 came out and the Xbox
like
Series
new
whatever
games
came
to play?
out, you know, one of the big talking points was like how many like exclusives are? What are the new like only on PS5 games are there? There aren't any new games for this thing. There are no games.
Yeah, typically Nintendo has not suffered from that, but I think that this time around, and this is it's such a Nintendo thing. Like only Nintendo gets this little privilege of theirs, where they can. Because like the truth is, there aren't that many exclusives for this. Like it's Mario Kart World, that Donkey Kong game, and I think that's kind of it. Now, Metroid Prime 4, or isn't it's Metroid Prime 4?
That was on the regular Switch.
No. That's what I'm saying. Metroid Prime 4. This is what it's called, right? Metroid Prime 4?
Sure.
Yeah. Metroid Prime 4 is on both. Pokemon Z to A is on both. So, like, really, there's not this must-buy thing yet.
Because, yeah, it sounds like there's 2 games for the Switch, too.
Yeah. Now, there's some other stuff that they, like, kind of briefly mentioned. There's, like, a Hyrule Warriors sequel that I think is only on the Switch, too. But, like, Hyrule Warriors is not, like, developed by Nintendo. It's kind of... It's going to be an exclusive, and that's cool. But, you know, it's not, like, AAA must buy this console to own this thing type of game.
I do have a friend who loved the hell out of Hyrule Warriors.
So I say all that to say that, yeah, I do think that this system is lacking in that department, but Nintendo and only Nintendo can get away with that because they've got Mario Kart. I think that will, and that's not a for me thing. That's just like, that's how it goes for people. Like Mario Kart pushes consoles.
It does.
And it will just keep you satisfied. It'll keep the kids quiet if you're in a, not quiet, but it'll keep them satisfied in the other room. And like, you know, they can coast on this for a bit. So I guess there's Kirby's Air Ride, but there's so little information on that right now that, I mean, we know it is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. So there's that.
I don't know. It just feels like a console that is designed for adults. You got to have adult money to buy it.
Yeah.
They went for that more black color scheme, less of the bright colors.
Yeah, not as fun and cute and inviting.
Yeah, not as cute and inviting. Because it's not. Because everything costs real money.
It's funny because, like, I mostly agree. I think that the pricing is like, yeah, you got to have big boy money. But the features seem like they're very kid focused.
See,
and I think
the features sound kid focused, and then you're gonna walk into a room of 30-year-old men.
It's gonna be just a bunch of millennials
Mario Karting together, using the live chat, having the time of their damn lives.
Well, I think in our discussion, what I ended up landing on is actually that it is the kid focused features are almost like a mask of sorts, where it's like, okay, listen, we know this shit's expensive. And we know that there's going to be a lot of households who are going to be like, yeah, listen, little Jimmy, we're holding off on the Switch 2. Or maybe, like what you said, we'll buy a Switch 2, don't expect too many games.
You can get
yeah. So basically, I think that these things like game share are supposed to kind of mitigate a lot of that. And these like upgrade your existing... Jimmy's been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild and he really likes it, so here's a little upgrade pack for $20, and now I could play it in 4K 60. And even though he can't really tell the difference, at least it feels a little smoother, looks a little sharper. Like you could, we can sell the parents on that. It's like that's kind of how they're mitigating it.
I mean, they're using their catalog
to
justify the price and the lack of new games for the new console. I mean, I'm with it. It makes sense to me, right? If your kid already has 1 million Switch games, if all you have to do is upgrade a couple of them to make it seem new, hey.
I think that's going to be a really common like Christmas trick. So
just get them the upgrade pack.
Okay, well, anyways, next we've got our stereotypical AI story, the last little big story for the week.
No.
So there's like technically 3. There's like 3 AI stories. You have probably seen that ChatGPT has upgraded its GPT 4.0 image generation abilities recently. You can basically plop a little picture in and tell it to generate this picture in different art styles. There's actually like a dozen different art styles it can do and kind of replicate different famous painting styles and all this cool stuff. The one that is taken off the most is this Studio Ghibli kind of Miyazaki film-inspired look. And you probably can't have gone on the internet recently without seeing people, changing their profile pictures to a little Ghibli thing. There have been entire brands and sports teams that have been like, here's a picture of, the whole roster of the Golden State Warriors in Ghibli style. Even the White House has made its own fun Ghibli-inspired pictures.
Fun, that's a word for it.
Yeah, exciting. There's a lot of pushback on this because a lot of people are very upset. They feel as though, and Miyazaki himself has been quoted as saying this in 2016 when he first saw early looks at AI-generated imagery. He thought it was an insult to life itself.
Every time someone shares an AI picture with me, it's like they just sent me a picture of vomit. Like, my feelings on AI have been very clear on this podcast, and I'll tell anybody that online, in person. Like, AI art is garbage, and I don't care how popular this little like GPT feature becomes. It's not gonna make that drivel into artwork.
I will give it the most charitable interpretation that I can. I think that what they're doing is making it seem a lot more like filters, and that is why this particular one has caught so much momentum in the mainstream. Because previously, I think that the way that AI images or photos or whatever, if we're calling them that, would work is kind of like you had to be so familiar with prompting.
Yeah, to feed it prompts.
Yeah, you had to feed it prompts,
an image.
like models, set all these like little settings and stuff to really kind of fine tune it. And maybe we will give it the nicest thing I can say is that at least that meant that you probably had to know quite a lot about what you were doing to get a decent result. The thing is now, what it is like, literally like you and I could take a selfie right this moment, throw it on ChatGPT, turn this into Ghibli style, wait 10 seconds, poof, there it is, and it looks like really good and convincing. I think that that's probably the first time I feel like as a product, as a business making a product, they are probably quite proud of this because you might see, your older sister or your cousin or your mom or, a random like brother who does not follow any of this, just upload a Ghibli picture. Like of themselves, like, here, I'm in Ghibli style, isn't this cool, Alec?
It's not.
And I think for that, I'm not gonna say they should be commended, but more like product-wise, I think that is something that they have made that they can probably feel good about. It's a tough argument to make because I think these days there is a market for quick satisfaction. It's like people's argument is always like, why should I bother learning to draw if I can like type it into this thing and it'll like give me something in 10 seconds that I am satisfied with?
This is another consequence of globalization and the internet. Before we had the internet, artwork was not readily available. You weren't always constantly reminded of the sheer amount of talent and ability that exists in the world that you don't have, because you were limited by, well, whatever art was in your immediate area, immediate vicinity. If you did not have the ability to draw or paint, unless you were actually a scammer, you didn't care. It wasn't a big deal that you couldn't do it. But if you exist on the internet today, there's so much talent on display, there's so much ability, there's so much that you can desire. And then these guys, these AI like engineers and programmers said, well, what if you didn't need to have talent to make a great picture? And for the desperate, the tasteless, the greedy, that's enough. It's like, oh, well, yeah, there are people who have spent their entire lives training in this art form. There are people who, yes, I could pay them to create this work for me, but I don't want to do all that. I can just press some buttons, type in some keywords, and bam, I get my excellent piece of art. And it's just sad because it's another example of how we as human beings were not ready for the internet and everything that came with it. The technology has completely overtaken us. We're letting technology cloud our very understanding of what's being created around us.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I have a whole dissertation really that I will tell anybody who will listen that I'm just not actually the older I get, maybe and the more I hang out and just see what the internet is like how people talk, how people engage with each other, the arguments and stuff that happen, just the content that's just constantly kind of just thrown at you. I do sometimes think that it's caused some of this to accelerate at what I deem not a good pace. You're right that previously art was not something that you were just exposed to so readily. Mm-hmm. Because I think that what inspires a lot of people, inspires is a word for it, but what maybe motivates a lot of this AI art creation is the fact that if you do get on Twitter or Instagram and stuff now, you will be bombarded with really good looking fan art of your favorite League character, your favorite character from Overwatch, your favorite Marvel Rivals character. You'll see sexy, hot fan art. You'll see just cool fan art. You'll see all of these things, and you see YouTube thumbnails, and you just see memes, and it kind of gets to this point where it in effect gets cheapened by the fact that it is presented to you so often. You stop viewing it as something that someone necessarily worked really hard on. I think instead it sort of just starts to look at this is just part of what hopping on Twitter today looks like. You'll be shown this stuff, right. And so as a result, when the tools are kind of provided such that you can just type in some prompts, maybe feed it a model of your favorite Genshin Impact character, and it'll she's doing this and she's in this pose and whatever, and it will give you something that is maybe 80% comparable to what you've seen, at least in your eyes, and you can have that and be happy with it and share it or whatever. Yeah, I see how we got to this point, but I really don't love it. So
it's just, we talk about it with Instagram and TikTok, how people become envious. People, they want to be the next Instagram influencer. They want to be the next TikToker. Yeah. At one point, you had to work and look really hard to find and learn about people who could create. But the internet is a playground for creators. People who can actually create things run this internet.
I do feel bad for some of the artists out there who regularly do commissions and stuff online, because it is unfortunately it is a reality now that we'll have to be contended with. It doesn't seem like there's a whole bunch of legislation really getting pushed very quickly in this regard. There's actually a story coming up that gets into that a little bit more. So I'll get right there. This one's great.
Oh, jeez.
Inside YouTube's weird world of fake movie trailers and how studios are secretly cashing in on the AI-fueled videos. Have you seen this genre of YouTube, Alec?
Yes, I have.
Where they make fake movie trailers.
Yes, because the YouTube algorithm was like, hey, you like Marvel movies, right? Here are a bunch of Marvel movie trailers you've never heard of. And at first I was like, wait, what's this? I never heard of this. So I clicked on it. And in like, I want to say about 15 seconds, I knew exactly what I was looking at. I was looking at AI slop. And then I discovered that there were whole channels with many, many videos that are just AI generated garbage. But the YouTube algorithm, I don't know if it knew or cared. It was just like, hey, you want this?
Yeah, so this is a whole genre. For those who didn't know, I'm sure you probably have seen at least something of it. And what's a little creepy about them is that they will like cast existing actors as like what
or
if
dead actors.
Or dead actors. It's like, what if so-and-so played, Gandalf in a new, was he from Lord of the Rings?
Yes, he's from Lord
movie
of the Rings.
Or something, or what if like Tom Holland played this person? Here's the new Spider-Man trailer, and we did it in 2022, and it's the one for the Spider-Man 4 or something, So, yeah, lots of those. They tend to get hundreds of thousands of views, sometimes millions of views. Recently, YouTube has stopped 2 major fake movie trailer channels from being able to monetize their AI-fueled videos. The channel Screen Culture, which I have seen or heard of them at least, and KH Studios.
Thank you, God.
Yeah. So
I hate KH Studios.
If you're anti-AI, this might sound like a win until you realize that if you dig a bit deeper, it's perhaps a bit more complicated than that. So what has really been happening now is that many of these Hollywood studios have been allegedly petitioning to YouTube not allow this content on the site entirely or remove these trailers, but rather to revenue share these trailers. So if I make a little AI generated Spider-Man X Batman, the movie, it's real, it's happening, guys, in 2020, whatever. And, I'm using Tom Holland and, who's the guy who did Batman, the most recent one?
Which one? Oh, Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson, and like AI generate this whole little thing. And I make it, it gets to stay up. They just get to take the ad revenue from it. So I guess in lieu of not really having proper legislation around like, who owns this and that and what can and can't be uploaded, instead these companies are like, well, listen, until then, we're just going to take the money. You guys can make what you want. That's a complicated one. How do you feel about that?
It leaves me quite bitter because I think in a fair and just world, these videos will be removed from every corner of the internet, especially YouTube. But, the movie companies themselves opting, or at least petitioning, for those videos to stay up just so that they get a cut on the revenue. Oh, it's so slimy.
It's a little gross. In a world where the alternative is that people get to just make loads of money off of making fake AI trailers, I think that this is the next best option, is that at least the IP owners are getting something from it. I say that the way that I do because I don't agree with the AI trailers being able to stay up.
My thing is if they can enable revenue sharing on these videos, they can just take them on down.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree with you. I'm just saying, though, that at least by doing this, it perhaps maybe discourages the behavior. Maybe. I don't know if that's actually how that's going to pan out. I really wouldn't be surprised. I mean, because I think some of these channels are making these AI trailers kind of just for fun, and maybe they just see it as like it's just this is kind of.
They should be banned from the internet.
There's that. Now, the last quote that I have, or last story that I have, is a quote from Bill Gates.
Oh, the Gates man.
He's got a little something to say about
Billionaire
AI.
Gates.
Yeah. So when you think of Bill Gates, you think of kind of an innovator, rich guy, whatever.
Microsoft.
Bill Gates predicts that a couple of things. In 10 years, he predicted there will be a 2-day work week.
How do you figure it? Where?
Just like in traditional kind of blue-collar work, there will be a 2-day work week.
In America? In the States?
Something like that. But more importantly, he says that he expects that within 10 years, AI is going to have replaced humans for most things. And that's why there will be a 2-day work week.
Oh.
Yeah, so he thinks that it's going to replace doctors, and he thinks that it's going to replace teachers. So he says, quote, humans won't be needed for most things.
We about to be dumber than ever.
So, like, what do we think about? Do you think in 10 years there just kind of won't be
No,
a need for teachers anymore, a need for
purely
doctors?
because there are plenty of people where unless there is a human they're dealing with, then it's a complete no-go. There's a lot of children that cannot be taught by a computer. There's a lot of people where a computer can't diagnose them for shit. Like, I'm not taking a shot from a robot. I'm not, and it's like, it's cute to think that way in like a futuristic way where, yeah, everything's going to be Chrome and the AI is going to do everything for us.
Yeah, very like Blade Runner.
But it's not realistic. The fact of the matter is there are millions there are billions of people on this planet and they all need something to do.
Yeah, that's kind of where I sometimes land with this whole, like, AI is going to be doing all our jobs. It does sound nice and like, this kind of world where you get to just sit at home and AI is doing everything. But then it's no. I know. I know. I'm just setting the stage. I'm setting the stage. Remember, you don't have to like get up and work, and your life is great. But here's the thing. So then, what will you do? And I know that like on the surface, it's like every day's a vacation, right? Like, because the AI, it's serving you and it's doing your laundry, and it's your doctor and it's your teacher and everything. But then how would a person find fulfillment? Like, there are a lot of people who find fulfillment through their work.
You talking about fulfillment? I'm talking about money.
But also, that.
I just think money's more important than fulfillment.
Well, I think for some people it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, the idea that your career is what makes you money is what gives you fulfillment. Like, for some people that's kind of the case. I had an interesting conversation with somebody a few years back, and I kind of stumbled on this really interesting distinction, I think, that a lot of our parents have versus maybe us or people younger than us. Have you noticed that like a lot of maybe, we'll say Gen X and like boomers and stuff actually define themselves by their career?
Yes.
So they will introduce themselves to you as
a male person.
I'm a teacher. I'm a police officer. I'm a firefighter. Like, their career is their identity. Whereas I think many people our age and kind of below and stuff don't do that as often. They might say, I work at this company, or like kind of, here's where I am right now. Here's what I'm doing.
I do think it depends on the career, though.
Yeah, and that varies from career to career. But I think that with Gen X, it was just that didn't vary very much. Like, it was just whatever you did was that's who you are. So anyway,
I'm a garbage man. I see garbage, I pick it up. That's who I am.
So, but to get to the point I guess I was making is like, if people can't work and make money, is there going to maybe be like just a universal basic income? Because a lot of people don't really love that idea. So it's like,
well, I guess it's more about what is the AI like at that point.
Yeah. So then it's like, I don't know. It gets into like a tricky space. Like, I guess it sounds like a utopia, but I just wonder like, what will they, because can you consume if there is no money? Like, if you don't have, like, you're not making any money to be able to go and consume things. Are we meant to believe that it's all going to be that AI will be this purely benevolent thing that will not charge you for your doctor's visits?
I thought we have to pay for the AI. Like, you can get AI for free.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, when I hear people like Bill Gates say like, yeah, AI is going to replace all these teachers and replace all these doctors and everything's going to be like easier and faster and more convenient. I guess my question though is like, will those savings actually be passed off to the end user? And I'm just inclined to think that they won't because like maybe it'll be easier to get an AI diagnosis than it will be to get a real doctor diagnosis.
Yeah, then you'll just die.
Perhaps it might be faster, let's say. But A, there's reliability concerns, but then also B, like, are they going to still charge you, hundreds, thousands, whatever for the visit? And if they're charging you that now, but also you don't even get to work your regular blue collar job because that's also been replaced, then how the fuck are you going to pay for any of it? Like, maybe it's getting, like, I don't know if that's like too doomerish of me,
well, I mean,
but
it would have to be paid for, right? Just the amount of power it takes to power these AI. I mean, like, there's a cost coming.
Yeah, so it's just that's kind of where like
But it feels like a very much like a futurist billionaire perspective. When you don't have to worry about money in your day to day, then it's easier to have thoughts like that. But when you worry about money every day, you know damn well that no matter how great technology becomes, you're gonna start to make some money.
Yeah, I think he and many others are in a position where like he does not have to care because
His money's never disappearing.
yeah, his money will never disappear, and like he will never have to worry about having a job or not having a job.
Because technically, right now, isn't Bill Gates unemployed?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like it just when your existence is money, right? Like you just you're invested in many things. You can just exist, and like money is made for you. Like you're just
like he's like, oh, I'm gonna visit this school. They hand him a check immediately.
Yeah, like it's just that's kind of how it is, and so yeah. Anyway, I'm interested in hearing what a lot of people have to say about this whole AI thing. It's certainly there's some developments. Okay, well, a quick little thing that I saw. There's not really anything to discuss about it, but there are 2 new Spider-Man movies that finally are now like given dates.
Yes,
this is our quick little Marvel update before we get into the viewer questions. Spider-Man: Brand New Day. That's basically the Spider-Man 4 Tom Holland movie. Next July, I think July 31st, 2026.
Yep.
It's going to be releasing then. It's supposed to be happening around when Avengers Doomsday happens, like within their timeline. And then Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think is the name of it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, because the last one was like Through the Spider-Verse or whatever.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Across something.
Beyond the Spider... Wait, I think Beyond the Spider-Verse happened already.
Well, either way, whatever the last...
Into the Spider-Verse was the first one. I think it was Across the Spider-Verse, the second one.
So that was Beyond the Spider-Verse, yeah. So it's coming out on like July 2nd, 2027. So basically 2 different Spider-Man movies are happening, and these were just finally revealed. So
were there trailers?
No, it's literally like logo and like date.
Oh, fair enough.
So that's all you get.
They'll be pushed back.
Anywho, so time for some viewer-submitted questions.
Time for some pot.
Yeah.
Time for some pot.
If you guys want, you can always submit the questions to the Pot of Greed at the link in the description of the video. It's under every single podcast. In fact, every single video on this channel. So, I've got 2 questions for us because we're going to draw 2 cards. In the interest of time, we're doing 2 questions because it's storming outside and we might die if we podcast much longer. So, it's okay though because these are probably going to be some meaty questions. So it'll like make
they always are. They're never short questions.
How would you fix the onboarding issue with new and young players to ensure Yu-Gi-Oh! Has enough players to stay relevant in the future?
How would I? So I have complete control over Yu-Gi-Oh! In this scenario?
Yeah, we'll say so.
Okay, I'll introduce Rush Duels.
Okay. So you think like Rush Duels is kind of that's the best way of...
You just need something that will entice a different audience than that has already been enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh! Because the fact of the matter is we're all getting older. And like what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right now works for us, but kids don't have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime to latch onto. So we got to give them Rush Duels. It's our only chance.
I agree. I mean, I think there are many small things that could be done to like kind of improve the current little Yu-Gi-Oh! Onboarding situation for sure. But I think that the major things would literally involve either Rush Duel or a reboot. So
we need a new show so that kids can watch it and enjoy it. Maybe we do a Yu-Gi-Oh! Like viral live service type game. We need a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fortnite. Something that kids care about.
Yeah, I do want to actually
Yu-Gi-Oh! Minecraft.
I want to dig into that in a second, but I guess the first thing I was going to say is this. I'll get the small stuff out of the way because there will be people who are maybe curious, like, what do you mean by like the small things? I still think that we're not doing enough with starter and structure decks. This is kind of my weekly routine on here is bitching about this, but I will continue to do so into infinity. I do not think that they're doing enough with structure decks. What I mean by that is Maze of the Millennia, awesome set. It's cool that Odeon got cards. They're actually been topping regionals and stuff, and that's great and fun. And it's cool that ABC and Union got cards. Make them structure decks.
I was going to say make them stronger.
I don't care that they're like normal people who might have been drawn to these decks because they saw Yu-Gi-Oh! In the past and kind of liked Odeon or liked Kaiba or whatever, will not know that these cards are in this product. You can release the same cards. I have nothing. This is not a qualm about the card design. Put them in a structure deck. Structure decks on a shelf get more attention than Maze of the Master does. It just is. You can't tell what's in Maze of the Master. It is not a clear looking, like just the design language is fine for a Yu-Gi-Oh set for an existing person, but like I will much sooner look at a structure deck and just buy that if it's got Kaiba on it, and
because it's very simple that the maze sets don't do their job, or at least they don't do that job. Like if I'm interested in the new Blue Eye structure deck, I buy what, 2 of them and call it a day. I guess you buy 3. I buy my 3 structure decks and I'm good, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's say I'm a really big Flame Swordsman fan, or let's say I'm a really big Odeon fan. We'll stick with Odeon. And it's like, okay, I understand that this is not a structure deck. This strategy is in the set, Maze of the Master. So I'll buy 2 boxes. Yes, it's way more expensive than buying 3 structure decks, but surely I'll get the cards I need to play my Odeon deck in those 2 boxes.
Of course.
You bust them open, and you have less than half a deck. And it's like,
Yeah.
Even if there were staples in this set to fill out the deck,
which there aren't, but yeah,
I don't even have enough of the core cards to make an Odeon deck. I've spent significantly more than a structure deck. I am wholly unsatisfied.
Yeah, I think it's just a waste. I think that they should just be throwing that stuff into structure decks, and anytime there's ever anime support, it should be getting the same treatment. I'm actually uncompromising on that point of view at this point. Like, I used to kind of be like, oh, that might be a good idea. No, I think that's actually like what they need to be doing. I think Shining Sarcophagus should have been one. I think Millennium should have been one. I think that Red Eye's little metamorph thing should have been one too. The next thing that they could be doing is, I don't know why Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't like delving in deeper into like a league system at these card shops. I've seen stuff like Pokemon and Lorcana do it. And like, yes, it kind of just depends on how much the shop is willing to keep up with it. So,
but you can at least give them the option to try.
The infrastructure needs to be there. Right now, Konami has the OTS system, so yeah, they'll like send you some OTS packs, and your shop can apply for sneak peeks. So I'm talking about like, where is the weekly thing where it encourages people to bring friends and get benefits for that, or encourages people to, like, I guess there's Lost Art if you spend $30 at your OTS, but like that has nothing to do with.
Usually have a progression system, almost like a battle pass, but in real life.
Yeah, like where you get rewarded for entering tournaments every week and doing trades and kind of like, give us like achievements as we play. I think that's not going to necessarily bring in little Jimmy, but it is going to ensure that when like average Joe kind of just decides he wants to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, plays it, gets, bum rushed by whatever the meta thing is, and then just decides not to come back. This is kind of more for helping to retain that player, just so that they have more to do. Instead of just
showing up once, there's a more likely chance they'll show up a second and third time.
Yeah, those are my 2 like big ones. I've got other stuff, but I just figured those are probably the ones most worth sharing.
Fair.
To get back though to what you were saying, I think that yes, we either need a rush duel. I truly think that it would help. The design language is it's cleaner, it's brighter, it's more colorful. They got full art, it's newer, it's
fresh.
It's got more modern things, like say having the stars have the number in front of it, like it's 8 stars, all that little stuff. Fantastic, great, wonderful. That would be a great option. Or you got to do a Yu-Gi-Oh! Reboot. People don't love that idea. Or at least it's a mixed idea. I think Rush Duel is not as mixed because like Rush Duel at least is just a product.
It's a separate game.
It's a separate thing. A reboot might feel heavy-handed, so I get why people maybe don't like that.
The old people might be upset.
Or even hell, like we just need a new Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, like a mainline anime, because without an anime running, it just makes regular sets feel, I don't want to call them soulless or aimless, but maybe it feels like it's just status quo. It's just routine.
The way I look at it is, without a new anime, whenever like a new or returning player looks at a Yu-Gi-Oh set being opened, they just see a bunch of foreign faces. They don't know what any of this is. Like, if at least when Vrains was airing, if someone did not really play Yu-Gi-Oh, but they were watching Vrains, they could watch a set get opened and say, "Oh, look, Dino Wrestlers! I remember them. So and so used them."
It's a Goki. It's Altergeist.
But that cannot happen. There is no bridge for new and returning like anime watchers to get into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Effectively, what you're asked to care about is, and this one's tough because for an existing player, it has been probably a more exciting last few years because like basically every set now has a major anime archetype that it kind of caters to, like an existing old one. So,
Right.
for instance, Phantom Nightmare was like Yubel, and like, Legacy of Destruction was the Millennium or the Sarcophagus stuff, and the Millennium stuff, and the Metalmorph stuff. Like, and they've been kind of like just doing. So that's cool. It is servicing you a fair bit if you liked older anime existing themes because they're getting support.
But it's very limited and specific, right?
Yeah.
It's one archetype in the set.
Yeah. I mean, it might, and sometimes it's like 2 or 3, but more so what you find happens is like, who's that really, that's for just an existing Yu-Gi-Oh person. It is kind of further entrenching them into the game, and that's great for Konami, I guess retaining a customer. But I think like there's something that feels missing without an anime that's just airing on TV.
I mean, I've met people who their introduction to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or reintroduction to Yu-Gi-Oh! Was Vrains. And the fact that they could pull Vrains archetypes in the sets at the time, that guided them into playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And made them still play Yu-Gi-Oh! To this day. But it required an anime and card alliance. There had to be a current anime and a set with the cards from that anime.
It also affects like even structure decks and tins and stuff because you still don't get to have like character faces that are currently airing on a show. You just kind of have to like revert back to Yugi and Kaiba, which works sometimes.
Their faces can sell.
But like it's also like, I don't know. So that's my big thing with that. Next question before I ramble more. So this is actually about a video that came out recently. Do you remember Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Maxime?
Yeah.
Solemn? Yeah.
I think we did like an interview with him.
We did. So he used to do like videos that were usually kind of not market watches, but like kind of collector's value watch stuff. And he's also made just regular content, some Master Duel things here and there. He mostly plays Cardfight Vanguard and stuff. Okay, well, another Yu-Gi tuber quits modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And they also mention you guys. And so he made a video saying, like, I'm quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! This is a few days ago.
Yeah.
I watched his video and he said, we suck. No. He said that the video that I made on the loss of the mid-core player really resonated with him and kind of made it like click in his mind that like, that's me. Like, I'm not enjoying this.
Was he trying to get at that your video helped him quit?
Maybe. That's where he was. He was a mid-core player and that he was trying to win with decks that he liked and go to events and do well, but also that he didn't really have the time fully to commit. And he accepted that like he could have invested that time, but did not want to because he had other things that he liked, other games, other interests, people, whatever. He makes music, for instance. And eventually he just kind of got burned from all of it. He pointed out things like how it can sort of feel like a bit of a rat race with like you find yourself sort of hoping like this ban list is going to be the one, this ban list is going to be the one. Like if they will just ban Shifter, it'll fix the game. Or if they'll just ban this Bolt Charmy, this other card, like whatever, then the Yu-Gi-Oh! That we know and love will be back. And you kind of realize that at some point that can't ever actually really happen. Like,
Nope.
the ban list will never be the magic medicine to cure, whatever your soul sickness is. And that's just not like what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. That's not what Konami's doing. Love it or hate it, that's the reality. Anyways, he was like, yeah, okay, so I just quit. Now, there was a happy ending to his video, which was that like he said he got curious about the blue eye structure and picked it up and made a little 60 card pile and had a lot of fun with that. And so I guess where he ended up is now he's a super much more just casual, like I just play my blue eyes deck. I'm not trying to really go to YCSs. I'm not trying to go to regionals. I'm, going 2-2 at locals and just having a time with it. And like I'm not going, my aspirations will not be higher, was what he said.
A local warrior.
So cool. So that was the video. I guess really this person's question was just they sort of wanted us to maybe take a look at it. I've seen it. Alec has not, so I know you can't really probably say much to the video itself, but did any of those things I mentioned resonate at all, or like just any points maybe to make about them? I don't know.
I've been complaining about Yu-Gi-Oh! For longer than anybody can ever imagine. Why? Because of tier elements. When tier happened, I checked out. I felt like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was moving in a direction that I did not like. I did not like the effort it took for me to play at the time. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to play Yu-Gi-Oh like that. So I kind of checked out for a bit. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made, because when I checked out from Yu-Gi-Oh for a bit, an entire format passed me by, new cards entered the sphere, and Yu-Gi-Oh, because I was probably thinking that, well, when tier gets hit, the game will be back to normal and I'll enjoy it again. But Yu-Gi-Oh actually just kind of kept going forward. It didn't go back for me. And only recently have I started trying to claw my way back into what is modern Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's a fight. It's an absolute fight. When you have fallen out, when you've fallen out with Yu-Gi-Oh, and you're trying to get back into it. So many new things have happened. The way people are playing is different. What you used to know, you don't know anymore.
I can definitely say
they've changed the basic structures of decks.
Yeah, so much
decks
is
used to be aggro, control, mid-range. Nowadays, every deck is kind of all of them.
Alex, little boomer rant. No, go off. I know what you mean. I think if I can. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
Because back in the day, because I'm old, I gotta say back in the day, a control deck had the power of being able to put out a strong early board, but it did not have the recursive ability to sustain an elongated game. A control deck had the ability to sustain a game and control the game. But,
so what you mean is an aggro deck? Because you said control first.
Well, did I mix it up?
Yeah.
I meant to say combo.
Yeah.
I meant to say a combo deck puts out a strong board first turn or first or second turn, and it can't really sustain that. A control deck, it plays a long game, but its early turns tend to be weak because it's setting up. And an aggro deck tends to just push, but the moment it's quite fragile. The moment it's stopped, it kind of just falls apart.
And today, I know exactly what you mean.
The decks are so mixed
today,
now.
So many decks now are way more like just in doing their combo, they recur everything anyway. Like they recur everything for the next turn.
Recurring their resources. They're making a strong board that also, it'll control you out the game too. Even if it doesn't just win immediately, they'll let you take your turn, negate half of what you do, or at least they'll interrupt half of what you do, and you'll lose over time. It feels like so many decks just do it all now.
Yeah, decks they do it all. They kind of overwhelm.
Oh, and don't forget, if you didn't break that board, in a lot of cases, they just OTK you on turn 2. So that feels pretty aggro.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about it. In the interests of allowing the people to not have to listen to me for another 30 minutes, I'll try. I mean, I've got plenty to say. Like, I always have plenty to say. But I think that I'll say this. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the sort of game where when it really comes down to it, people kind of want to admit this or not. There's a nuance to be had, but I think getting down to the brass tacks, you're either in or you're out.
And being out
and being out is
and getting back in is rough.
It is a thick bordered line where effectively with this game you place yourself on a treadmill. It's a fast moving one, and once you maybe get to that pace, you can sustain it just fine, and that's great. But you stop for even a moment,
you're flying off the treadmill.
You're flying off the treadmill, and you can't just step back onto it.
And you think, is the treadmill going to slow down now that I'm off of it? No, it's actually getting faster.
And you ever put a treadmill on max speed and try to just step on it? It's not going to work. So that's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a fast moving game. The power level, I think people, I feel like I've said this for 3 podcasts now, people really underestimate how far the power level is up in this game. What decks can... Here's an example. Try to stop me if I go too far with this.
Okay, stop.
Yeah, okay. That's the podcast. No. I think there was a time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the word consistency was very much a metric used to describe decks. Mm-hmm. Okay, this deck is kind of inconsistent. This one is more consistent, whatever. You could kind of take steps to improve your deck's consistency. let's say. Like maybe I can add in some draw cards or something like that. It might be a little more consistent. Decks today don't care about consistency. They will work.
Yeah, they are
like
consistent.
Decks are consistent in design. Like
that is
so many of the average decks have, and people are going to point to Snake Eye, and that's the most extreme example where it's like, here's like 18 starter cards or whatever. But the average deck actually has like 9 starter cards, kind of just at the bare minimum. There's usually the monster that's the starter, there's the spell that's the starter, and then there's the like off-theme spell that also happens to search all of them. Like that's kind of where your bonfire or whatever, your cyber emergency for Drytron, like where those sorts of cards come in. Like decks are consistent. The assumption isn't that your deck won't be able to like play from not seeing its cards. It's just that like, are you going first or second type of thing? Does your opponent have hand traps or not type of thing? Like, can your deck play through enough of the hand traps? But there's very little question as to whether or not your deck will just be able to do its thing.
The Yu-Gi-Oh has a different, every card game has brick hands.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh has evolved what a brick hand is. What we call bricks in modern Yu-Gi-Oh are not bricks of Yu-Gi-Oh 10 years ago. A brick hand is supposed to be a hand where you cannot get a play. You cannot play your cards. But
these days, the closest you get to
you can play all your cards.
Yeah, like that's a thing, and that's just one facet that I kind of point to in the argument that I always make, that like people underestimate modern Yu-Gi-Oh's power levels. They really, honestly do. Like these decks are so goddamn consistent, you would not believe. These decks and the power levels that they're operating on are so high. I know it sounds like I'm being a dead horse here, but that's where that whole like ban list thing I'm always bitching about comes from. Where people are like, oh, these old banned cards are so broken they can never come back. But I honest to goodness think like they just wouldn't be. A lot of that stuff would not be played.
I will never forget a good friend of ours. He called his hand a brick because he only had his starter and one extender in hand. And he was like, yeah, this hand's a brick. It's like, but you have a play. But if they just use the impermanent,
but I can only play through like 2 hand traps with this hand. Yeah, it's like that. It's crazy. And I mean, also just the decks, they get the stuff to the grave on their own. They revive the stuff on their own. Every card has multiple effects. The spells do this and that, and then in the grave they also do this and that. Like monsters are kind of designed with the whole 3 effect system, where it's like, here's what summons me, here's what I do, here's also how I float or something, and just the general power level of decks is so high, such that like your concern is not that your deck can't do something. It's just, will it get maybe interrupted by the cards that Konami has had to increasingly make stronger as a means of controlling, like any sort of putting a band-aid on things, right? Like, can your deck play through Ash? Yeah, it can. Can it play through Ash and Imperm? Probably still can. Can it play through Ash, Imperm, and Droll? Okay, finally it has to stop.
Oh, I got a brick hand now?
Yeah,
wow.
and it's weird because you actually will see players complaining about this sort of thing, where it's like, oh my god, like these cards like Droll are so annoying, they stop me from doing anything. How unfair. And it's kind of like, literally, I'm not saying whether or not, Shifter or Droll maybe feel bad to lose to. It's more like,
we need Maxi at 3.
Listen, it's more like what has happened is that the power level has gotten high without people actually realizing quite how high it is. They're feeling the effects of a card like Droll or Lancia or Shifter because when you are given this much power and this much privilege on average, we're talking like tier 3 and 4 decks are still obscenely strong today, then when any of that's taken away from you, it feels like just this huge attack on like everything that you're here for. Like, what? My deck can't combo for 5 minutes. Did you know right now? And remember, tell me to stop if I'm going too long on this. I promise. Like I'll shut up. There's currently a deck in Master Duel. It's the best deck, which is Fiendsmith, Snake Eye, Azamina. Plus, you add a number of different engines of choice. It could be the Kashtira engine. It could be the Millennium engine. And it could also just be some random other engine because it's like the 5th engine in your deck anyway, so it hardly matters.
Right.
This deck, I had White Forest in there as well, that usually pops up, cannot reliably finish its turn in the time limit. I mentioned this last week when I was playing the Duelist Cup. I just hopped on, somebody was playing that deck, they comboed, and literally they just timed out. Because that is how much these decks can do. And by the time that combo's over, their whole field is full. Like, here's all these traps and spells that recycled themselves and set themselves back from the White Forest engine or the little Snake Eye engine. Here's stuff that's in the back row from Wedju Temple and from Snake Eye's Diabell Star stuff and whatever, and some equipped thing from a Fiendsmith card. And also they have stuff in hand. There's just so many cards. And it's insane how good decks are now. But anyways, I'm going to stop making all those examples and bring it back to the original point, which is that if you try to like kind of, you're either in or you're out. You know what I mean? Yep. Like if you're in, this starts to feel like your norm. It's fine. Like you're going to these YCSs, you're preparing for this. You expect it or you don't. If you're out, like it's just too much. And it kind of almost feels like it gets back to that original question, which is like, I don't know how sustainable this sort of model is, where you build for existing players so heavily that they're just constantly getting stronger new toys to play with, but inadvertently sort of blocking out almost anyone's ability to get into it. Where does that lead you? I don't know.
I mean, no one has the answers. I feel like only the higher level Konami employees know where this game is headed.
Yeah, and so I see why a person might just be like, I quit, because the mid-core doesn't feel very rewarding.
Or maybe it's become a local warrior. You go 2-2 every week and call it a day. That's what I did last week or the week before last.
Yeah, just be like a locals person and just stop caring, check out. Now, that takes a certain amount of humility.
Because you will lose.
Because you have to actually accept that you... I have a hot take, and I'm going to end the podcast on the hot take. Okay. I'm going to end the podcast on the hot take.
I was going to stop you.
Yeah, I'm going to end the podcast on the hot take. I will not go further from it. Is this: a lot of people who claim to be casual Yu-Gi-Oh players are not actually casual players.
Ooh.
To truly be a casual, or to make the claim that you don't care whether you win or lose and you're just playing this game for fun, you better damn sure be willing to accept the fact that you actually are just going to lose a lot. Like,
facts.
If you say like, I'm just playing for fun, guys, like I'm just, I'm a casual or whatever, but then you're kind of angry, like all these meta sheep playing all this stuff. Well, why are you mad about that though? Like I thought you were
taking these 0-4 claps at locals.
Like that's what I mean. Like if you want to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh casually, there does come with that a certain amount of acceptance that, listen, you really are playing at like a casual level, and it's going to be kind of miserable some days. But
everyone else, they're not doing that.
Yeah, because not everybody operates under your rules, and you can say all you want that like Yu-Gi-Oh should be played how I want it to be played, and only that, but like that's not how it goes.
Facts.
Okay, well anyways, that's the podcast for the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. 100 episodes?
100 episodes, guys. We love you guys so much. Especially our channel members.
Truly. So yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Seriously, if you like it, feel free to maybe become a channel member. It would be really cool. You can support us financially. As you can see, we are operating on a crew of literally 2 people producing this podcast, and there are no sponsors. So, yeah. Okay, that's going to be
Check out the list of our sponsors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we do have the list of like channel members. They're the sponsors.
I guess, yeah, those are our sponsors.
We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully I'll get to meet some of you at YCS Houston. A few of us will be there, and you might get to meet Alec at Nats, I guess, if you go to that. It'll be a few months.
I'm going to scrub out.
Cool. All right. See you guys in the next one.
Pass turn.